Welcome to the Bill Cartwright Show. We have a special guest tonight, a WNBA All-Star, two-time Olympian, and inducted into the Women's Basketball Hall of Fame, Ruthie Bolton. Ruthie, we're so thrilled to have you on.
Thank you, Bill. So good. Thank you for the invitation.
Now, your story is really interesting, and I've listened to it. I think everybody's really intrigued. Talk about growing up in Mississippi.
Wow, growing up in Mississippi from a very modest family of 12 girls and 8 boys.
Wow.
And so that was a lot of fun growing up. My dad was a minister, so I'm a PK kid, preacher's kid. And we grew up on about 10 acres in McLean, Mississippi, and horses, cows, chickens, goats. We lived on the real farm. And you know what? We lived on 10 acres, and my dad had 20 kids. So I think for every acre, he said, let me have 2 kids. Or for every 2 kids, he said, let me buy an acre. One of the two, something happened in there. Growing up, and then my mom's sister, 4 miles away, had 18 kids.
Boy.
And then another sister about a little bit further, maybe like 8 miles away, had 12. So I think they were sort of competing. Like, the Bible said, be fruitful and multiply. And that's when they really took it literally, be fruitful and multiply.
Yeah, you guys didn't mess around there. And it's a wonder you guys were so competitive with all those kids. And I think I was listening to your story, and you were telling a story about a fence, getting over a fence, and I was really intrigued by that.
Oh man, Bill, that fence story really embodies because I was a tomboy, serious tomboy, just had a horrific jerry curl. I've always been pretty strong, muscular, so I looked more like a boy than my twin brother did. And I was just very active. I love being outside. And I was just talking to my sister last night. She used to torture me. She used to sit me right in front of the window and sit me and do my hair and take forever. And I could just see it starting to get dark. And I'm thinking this is the last day of my life. Like I can't get another. Like I treat it every day like I might never get that day again. So I love being outside. And so I was pretty athletic. You jump fences and climb trees. And this one particular day, I had jumped before. I just feel like it just all of a sudden, as I approached to jump the fence, like a fear set in. I saw the fence like it was taller than it had been before. And so I'm thinking my mind is just playing tricks on me. So I go back and I said, let me try this again. And so I took a deep breath, and as I run to jump the fence, it got even taller. And I'm thinking, what is going on? So I was left there by myself, and all of them said, come on, don't worry about it. What's the big deal? What's wrong with you? I was like, no, I can jump this fence. And so I pondered with that fence, Bill, for about 10 or 15 minutes. And then the street light came on. That time, it was time to get in the house. I don't know why. It was time to get inside. So I'm thinking like, man, I'm just having all these mixed emotions. I either go in or get in trouble. And I'm thinking like, man, I hadn't jumped that fence. So while we were inside, I'm talking to they're like, what's the big deal? Like, we'll just pretend you jumped it. I said, no, that's not good enough. I want to jump that fence. So, sometimes when you really want something, when you know what your why is, you have to be a little bit crazy, a little bit like different. And so I said, I'm going to do it no matter what tomorrow morning. I said it to myself. I didn't really tell them. I made them think that I was like, okay, yeah, whatever. But I made my mind up that night. I said, I'm going to get up in the morning before anybody else get up, and I'm going to jump that fence. And I'm like, I wonder if they're going to believe me, though, because I'm going to do it. But I said, I got to do it. I didn't want anybody to the side of me trying to tell me, no, don't worry about it. No, I'm like, I want this. So, Bill, I went back out there again. I said, okay, take a deep breath. You got to see yourself jumping over it. You got to see yourself already celebrating. So the obstacle, the fence, you got to just completely remove it out the way. And you got to see yourself on the other side. And sure enough, as I started to proceed toward the fence, I put everything I had in. I'm like, I got this. And I leap, and I landed over the fence. And I think I ended up landing on my side or something, but I was over the fence. That was the goat, getting over the fence. And I celebrated. Of course, if I was a gymnast, I wouldn't have had a bad score because I didn't quite land on my feet. I didn't stick it, but I got over the fence, and Bill, it was just the most rewarding moment for me, celebrating this moment. And I say quite often that, you know, ESPN wasn't there, the NC2A wasn't there, the Olympic Committee wasn't there. It was no really peer pressure to not do it, but it was something inside of me that really pushed me. And I was about 14 years old. And Bill, I believe that's the day that I started embarking upon my Olympic journey, my world championship journey, my Hall of Fame journey. Well, that moment pivoted me and changed me up here, did something where I draw in that inner strength. And that's what people say, where do you get that it from? And I usually not tell that story. I said, because most time at that, I wasn't getting paid to do it. It wasn't any cameras watching me. There was not peer pressure to do it. They would tell me not to. Something kicked in, something ignited. I think the disbelief, maybe the fact that they didn't think I could do it, it ignited something like, I can do this. So that carried with me for the rest of my career. But that moment changed in my life. That's why I always talk about everything is a process. And your moment, you never know the moment you can rewrite your story. The moment could change your life. And knowing what your why is. And when I work with young people, I said, listen, this is a process right here. At the time, I didn't know anything about the Olympics. I didn't know anything about no major goal setting. I didn't know all this big old terms we use. I just knew there was a Mississippi little nappy haired girl that wanted to get over this fence for whatever reason. And that moment propelled me. And that was a hurdle. That was a major hurdle that I got over, which propelled me and helped me in the other phases of my life.
Please talk about playing basketball when you were young, because we now know you're ultra competitive. So who really led you down that road of playing basketball? And then now that you've played basketball, how in the world did you end up at Auburn?
Well, okay. Well, like jumping over that fence set the stage for a lot as I prepared. In high school, we were pretty good, Bill. We won 2 state championships. We went to state championship game 4 years, and we were just talking about the other day who beat us. But anyway, we went 4 years, and my 4 years we won 132 games and lost I think I lost 6 or 7, and so I thought I was pretty good. I'm like, hey, and my sister a year above me was a superstar though. I'm talking about she was a combination of Cheryl Swoop, Cheryl Miller. She was the stuff.
Wow.
And so, yeah, seriously, Tennessee wanted her, Connecticut, LSU. She was a powerhouse. The most beautiful game, finesse player, about 5'11", 6 feet, long arms, could jump out. She had a Michael Jordan shot, like her fall away. But anyway, so everybody had their eyes on her. And I'm right behind her. So after she chose to go to Auburn, Southern thought they had her. She had verbally committed. Her last visit was at Auburn. And when she chose to go to Auburn, the whole nation was like, what? Like everybody thought she was going to go to Southern, a local school. She was going to put them on the map. She was going to be the superstar, But so everybody's eyes were on her. But when all the coaches came to our home, they promised both of my parents. They promised my parents that they would give both of us a scholarship. So imagine this: you got 2 kids, like, oh yeah, okay, both kids scholarship. And most people, it enticed them with my parents with having both of us. So, but guess what? Senior high school, Bill, can you believe no letters, no phone calls, or nothing? Like literally, I just couldn't believe it. I'm like, I went to state, and it wasn't like I was doo-doo brown. Like I averaged like 23, 24 points in high school. We won state. It was just mind blowing that I didn't get phone calls and letters, and I was discouraged. In my high school team, we were all cousins except for 2. We was all related except for 2 players, and so I was disappointed. Being from a faith-based family, I was like, Lord, where are you? Why is this not falling in my lap? I've been a good girl. I've gone to church. I've trusted you, and I don't know. My dad said, listen. He said, if you take in life with you just a few principles, he said, you want to carry a suitcase full of rules. And he said, I'm not mad. I'm not worried. He said, I'm not worried about Don't give your power away worried about what you can't control. He said, what you can control is getting on that phone and calling Auburn. And I'm thinking, like, why would I call Auburn? You know, they supposed to call me. I'm supposed to be enticed. I'm supposed to be, put on treated like they valued me. And so, but they didn't. My dad said, you sit here and complain or you could do something about it. So I called Auburn. I called them. They said they didn't have the money to put me on a flight, so they could put me on a bus. The bus would take a 10-hour ride. And they said, we could put you on the bus. And I'm thinking, like, I don't know, something about this don't feel right. And my dad said, listen, it may be the most important ride you will ever take. The most important ride you will ever take. And sure enough, I called Auburn back. I said, I want to come. They put me on the bus to go there. And then I get there and then they tell me that I won't play in my senior year. So it was just going from bad to worse. I'm like, man, this is what I worked hard for. But anyway, my options. There's a saying, if a door closed, get through a window. And if that window not open, go through another window. And there's another saying too, usually that don't put all your eggs in one basket, Bill. But guess what? If you ain't got but one basket, you better put every egg you got in and you better go strong. And so, sure enough, I go to Auburn not knowing if I would play. They said I won't play in my junior, senior year. And I go there with this fear. I go there with this mindset is that I can't leave any stones unturned. If the coach said do 35 push-ups, I got to do 50. If the coach said do a sprint in 10 seconds, I got to do it in 8. Like, I knew I had to stand out. I knew I was playing catch up. And so that's what got me in this fire. So jumping over that fence started to pay off. That inner fight, that desire that said, you know what, I want this and I'm not going to let circumstances take this from me. I know my daddy believes in me and my dad was huge in my life. He believes in me. He said that, Ruthie, if you go to Auburn, don't make one basket as long as you get an education. That's what he said. And he said, you know what, but you're going to be fine. He said, I see how tough you play with your brothers outside. He said, I know you're not supposed to play football, but I see you play. And he said, you're going to be fine. And my dad immediately gave me this boost of confidence. And he was like the wind beneath my wings. And sure enough, I get to Auburn and I end up starting my freshman year, Bill. And this coach said, there's no way. He said, this could be, and that, like the whole staff, like, how do we all miss it? Like, like this is just don't even make sense. Like, you totally flipped the script on us, but you showed us what it means. He wrote the foreword to my book, The Ride of a Lifetime. Who would ever imagine that if somebody said, one day, you better give this young lady a chance because one day you're going to, not only is she going to help you win 3 conference championships, you're going to go to the Final Four twice, is that you're going to write the foreword to her book about resilience, about what it means to overcome, what it means to rise above, what it means to find a way. And sure enough, he did. Who would ever imagine? He said, I would have never imagined. He said, you taught us something.
Talk about some of your teammates when you were at Auburn.
Wow. One of my teammates, my sister Mayola, was really good, like just a great player. She was runner-up for the Player of the Year behind Clarissa Davis that went to Texas. Great player. She the one that came to me, and when I was down, if I was going to go to Auburn, she said, listen, if you could play defense, you could play for coach. College, he was a defensive coach. And I didn't have an offensive game. And so she really always talked to me. And then she cooked for me in college. She washed my clothes. A lot of people thought she was so much older because she was like my mom. And in college, she only 1 year older. But Vicky Orr, one of my teammates, she has a son right now. God, what is his name? He's probably going to the league. I think he went. Vicky Orr, he played at Auburn. Vicky Orr, my teammate, she has a son that went to Auburn. And anyway, she was amazing. She was a 3-act Kodak All-American. She went to 2 Olympics. She was just an amazing player, tall, had great hands, could shoot from mid-range, unbelievable rebounder, could run the floor well. She had a nice game, and her and I was roommates a lot. And she used to say I used to snack through the night, keep her awake, eating cookies or eating jelly beans or something. And but anyway, her and I was close. And then 5 of us from Mississippi. Vicky was from Alabama, but Johnson from Mississippi, Sharon Stewart. So we just, and my coach, Carol Ross, was from Mississippi. So it was more like we were like a family. And it was just, to me, every moment, Bill, every moment at Auburn was just breathtaking. Every moment was like exciting. Because guess what? I know academically, I don't feel like my high school prepared me. I get to Auburn and I'm like, Oh my God, I was overwhelmed with school, but I got tutors, and I ended up being academic all SEC. Uh,
Wow.
and literally that was totally just how I applied myself. Trust me, I can't wake up and just score a 95 on a test. I can't wake up and just score good. I wish if I study, I got good marks. If I didn't prepare, I didn't do well. So to me, that's what kept me sharp too, knowing that hey, I can't just fake it till I make it. I got to really be accountable. I had to really go to class. I had to really do my work. I spent my weekend studying. I utilized the tutor. So all of those things played a huge role, I think, in my success. It's just really being accountable, taking care of things I need to take care of, being mature, and really just being a person that the accountability off the court played a role in my accountability on the court.
Now talk about as you're leaving Auburn and you're so successful. You're talking about your mindset of being a professional player, and what were you thinking about first, and what happened to you first?
You said after Auburn?
Yes, after you left Auburn, you're so successful. What was your mindset? Did you feel like you were prepared to be a pro?
I really didn't. When I left Auburn, I just knew I wanted to play more basketball. I had a horrible Jerry curl at Auburn. Like, I don't know why. Listen, I don't know why my teammates didn't tell me about that Jerry curl. When I saw it, when they did a special on me, I said I should slap all of y'all for not telling me how bad my Jerry curl was. And listen, we in the final game, I took a shot before half court, and it was a little bit to the left, and I believe if my Jerry curl had been a little bit in better place, I might have would have lined it up and made it. My Jerry curl had me tilted a little bit. Um, but after college, I hated how we lost, and I cannot end my career like this. I felt empty. I felt that I needed to play more basketball. Overseas, they said I was too short. I didn't get invited to the national trials. It's like, oh my goodness, are you serious? But it's like, like I said, when that door closed, that window, what is that little window of opportunity? And sure enough, my window was I could pay my own way to go. They didn't invite me. That out of 50 players, now you think 50 in the United States, if I made it to the final game, Bill, they couldn't give me a benefit of the doubt? Seriously? Like, was my Jerry curl that bad that they didn't want nobody like me represent? Listen, so I remember having this conversation with my dad, and my dad said, daughter, and that's what he called me most of the time because he couldn't remember my name. He said, with 12 girls, he said, daughter, listen, I stand by my principles: faith, attitude, and hard work. Those three things that you keep in your pocket, you keep around your neck, those three things nobody can ever take from you. It doesn't matter. He said, so you cannot go because you're afraid of fear. You're afraid that you're going to not make it. He said, then you'll think about this for the rest of your life and wonder what if. And then you're going to have some of the resentment. Resentment going to build up because you're going, every time you hear about, the USA team, you're going to say, well, they should have invited me. It was their fault. It ain't their fault because you got an opportunity to go. And I'm thinking, Lord, man, Dad, you on their side? But he said that you got to take charge of what you can control. What's yours going to be yours. No one can take your gifts from you. No one can get your gift. If you act on it, if you sit around, you can get your gifts, can dissipate. He said, but if you go out in faith, and you'll be amazed at what you can achieve. So anyway, I went. I said, I'm going. I paid my own way to go. And we had 9 sessions in 3 days. They had 50 players they invited. Those are their top 50 players in the country. And so out of those 50, Bill, they only going to choose 24. I would say a total of 30 by the time they do alternates. So there's going to be 20 superstars left over. Okay? 20 superstars that won't make it. But now you got this other group of about 125 girls that just show up hoping somebody see me. Guess what? I was one of those 125. See me, I'm hoping somebody to get a glimpse of me. So, but they put us with all these other girls, and so they just put us to make it look good. They ain't focusing on us. But hey, when you got your faith and you got a right mindset and you got a work ethic that's relentless, and you know your why, listen, you'll show up. Diamond gold gonna shine no matter where it is. And so sure enough, I worked my butt off. And after 9 sessions, they gave this big speech. They said, thank you all for coming. We only have 24 spots, 30 spots with alternates. If you didn't make it, don't get discouraged. Come back. We can only, we only got so many spots, but don't give up. They said if you made it, your name is outside. Look, your name will be outside on the door. So sure enough, I'll get up, I sit up, and I go outside, piece of paper, one piece of paper, okay. And I go out and I look, okay, and I just go out and I look, and I'm like, like Alice, Ruth, I couldn't believe it. I'm like, that's actually my name. Like, is this the list that didn't make it? No, they said like that. That's the list that made it. My heart just like, wow. I'm thinking I'm getting ready to head home. Gonna say, hey, it was good. It was nice. Thanks for going. It's good to show up. I actually made the team, Bill. I saw my name. I was like, wow, faith, attitude, and hard work. I said, thank you, Lord. I said, thank you, Daddy. Thank you for encouraging me. Thank you for being the wind beneath my wings. Thank you for nudging me. Thank you for igniting something inside of me to believe that's showing up. So when I talk to youth, I say half the battle is showing up. You don't show up. You got so many sitting around blaming somebody else. Oh, I quit the team because, I ain't like the coach. Or I didn't do this because, you know what? You really just giving your power away. You are giving your power away and you're missing out on so much when you just walk away. Of course, fear kicks in. But guess what? It's okay. Okay, it's okay if you feel like quitting. You feel like, I don't know if this is for me. Because guess what? You don't need courage if you're never afraid. If you don't have some aroma of fear, you don't need courage. Courageous is when you feel like, should I go left or right? But something inside of you saying, you know what, it's worth the fight. It worth running up this hill. I'm not going to walk away. This hill is tough, but I know my breakthrough is right there in that next 2 or 3 steps. But I never know what success look like. I never know what victory look like if I quit right now. If I let gravity of defeat, gravity of fear, gravity of I'm not good enough pull me down, I never see the top of that hill. And so to be able to make that team now, I was just like, wow, Daddy, thank you. Because my dad is one that kept nudging me and said, you know what? I believe in you. You got this. And I'm thinking he just sharing those things with me because that's what dads do. They encourage their daughter. They want to say the things that make their kid feel good. I'm just going to tell you something. No, but my dad knew. My dad saw something that I couldn't see. He heard something I couldn't hear. And it was his responsibility to share that with me, to instill that in me. And that's why I feel so committed, Bill, to the next generation. I feel like I owe it. Not trying to sound all religious, but the Bible said to whom much is given, much is required. And God has given me much. So I feel like I'm supposed to be talking to these hundreds and thousands of kids across the country. It's my duty. I owe it to them. I owe it to them to remind them of their greatness. And that's why this program I have, Aim High, that I share with girls and boys across the country, because I know how it feels. I know how it feels to want to give up. I know how it feels to think about, am I good enough? I know how it feels. So I feel it's my duty. It's my responsibility.
Well, I should ask you, who was coaching that team, and talk about some of your favorite teammates as an Olympian.
Yeah, my Olympian teammates, wow. I was just talking to Carla McGee. She's out of Atlanta. She was our funny jokester, but listen, we couldn't talk to her until afternoon. Like in the morning practice, she was just like a bulldog. Like she didn't want nobody to talk to her. But after lunch, she was all perky. She was just hilarious. She was like a totally different person. So we always talk about how we got to know her and her personality. I had a teammate like Nikki McCrae. Her and I used to sing the national anthem before a game, and then we were singing a lot of the NBA games. That me, Nikki McCrae, and I. She was awesome. She was like younger than me. I sort of took up under my wings. Dawn Staley was, who's going to be our next Olympic coach, who coaches South Carolina, was just a great man, just a great, not just a great teammate, great quarterback, great leader. And this is when I knew she was going to be dynamic. I said, listen, in this game, I was struggling shooting. That's why I'm glad that our defense was my bread and butter. Defense kept me in the game. I would go through my shooting slumps, and I would play long because of my defense, so I would get my shot back. But this one particular game, I just could not buy a basket. I'm just like, oh my gosh. And every time I would miss a shot, I would look over at Nell Farner. This was there was a world championship team, I think in 98. And I would look over at Nell, and Dawn came up to me. She pulled my shirt. She said, listen here, when you're on the court with me, guess what, Ruthie? If I pass you the ball, I want you to shoot. And she said, if you shoot the ball, guess what? There's a real good chance you're going to make it. I don't care how many shots you miss. So I want you to know, when you're on the court with me, I'm your coach. And I don't need you looking on the sideline. I run the plays. I run things on this court. So she was like, and so her and we were talking about that. She said, yeah. I said, Dawn, I don't know if that was right protocol, but you sure had me so. You had me so. And you know what? And that did so much for me. And guess what? I hit that winning shot in that game. We played the Yugoslavians. And I'm telling you, that did so much for me. Like, I got my playmaker. I got the leader of the team. She believes in me. She said, I don't care how many shots you miss. That next one is going in because you paid the price. I see how you practice. I see how you make 300 shots after practice. I see how you show up when the coach said practice is optional. You know it's never optional. How you still just show up. So, to me, I knew Dawn was going to be a leader. I'm not surprised she's the next Olympic coach. I'm not surprised she's won national championship because she just was this little fireball on the court that she was, we call it half pound. She wasn't a 100-pound wet, but she was a great leader and she carried us on her shoulders.
Wow. So after that, talk about your play, because a lot of people can't do this, but now you're playing professional basketball in Europe. Talk about that.
Oh man, I was told I was too short to go overseas to play, but when I finally got there, I went to Sweden, and the money, listen, I didn't make no money. I could have made more at McDonald's, but I didn't go there for the money. I went for the opportunity. And listen, when I got there, Bill, I'm like, because I was a defensive player out of college. When I got to Sweden, I was having 30, 40-point games, Bill. I couldn't believe it. I was like, oh my God, offense is fun. Like literally making shots like I was making. Some games I would have 7, 8 threes. I'm like, those were just jump shots. They felt like jump shots. And this is when I couldn't even shoot. Horrible technique. But my defense was my bread and butter. That's what I was confident every day of the week on that one. But my shot, but in being overseas really developed me personally and in my game. That's the reason why I continue to play for different national teams, because I increased on my offensive game. Katara told me, hey, your defense is great, but if you're gonna play, you gotta hit some shots. Bottom line, you gotta hit some shots. So I had to start, so I started having this working on my offense, and so overseas prepared me for a lot. I was behind Cynthia Cooper. I played overseas for like 7 years. I was behind Cynthia in Italy for like 5 years. Cynthia Cooper, man, it was like I was averaging like 28 points a game. I was averaging like 30. She would always beat me by 1 or 2. But I was just like, for me to have done that, I was a late bloomer. So when I train girls or boys that the offense, I said, listen. And when they 12 to 13, 14 years old, I said, you are so ahead of the game. I said, I didn't learn how to shoot until after college. Imagine if I could shoot during college. I think we would have won several championships if I was really understood in the offensive game. Like I said, I was more of a defensive player. And but overseas was beautiful. I have friends in Sweden, Italy, Turkey, Bangladesh, man, my Brazil, because we would play. A lot of those players will still stay in touch with me on WhatsApp, and it has just been beautiful experience. And a lot of people went overseas in this state because it isn't a adjustment. But I had an Italian family. I used to sing with them. I just really connected with international. The international atmosphere with the people and the food, and I just love learning about a new culture, and it was just fun to me. And again, I love the basketball to me because I was hungry, I was growing, I was developing as a player, and I'm like, this game is beautiful. So I was so finding my sweet spot every time. I was getting better and better, and then that's why I kept playing for different national teams, because I just kept getting better. And I think on many of my team, my Olympic team, I was the only player, if I'm not mistaken, Bill, that was not a high school All-American, was not even a college. I didn't get any awards in college. I wasn't this, Kodak All-American or this superstar in college. So I developed, I got better as I continued to play. Ben Chancellor told me in the WNBA, he said, Ruthie, I'm going to tell you. He said, I know a lot of players I've coached. He said, you one of the most underrated player, one of the most unsung heron player I've ever seen. He said, you fell below the radar. He said, I didn't recruit you. He's like, I didn't recruit you out of college. I didn't think you were that. You were nothing to me. Your sister Mela was a superstar. I didn't recruit you. I'm gonna admit, yeah. You can get mad at me because we was on the All-Star team at the WNBA All-Star. And he said, I didn't recruit you. I never would imagine. Nobody could have told me you would be doing what you're doing. So it's beautiful to hear that, Bill. To hear how that nothing was given to me on a silver platter. I had to fight for everything I got, and to me, it makes it even better.
Hey, talk about your favorite city in Europe. Which one was it?
Oh man, Italy. Oh my goodness. I got my Italian family. Listen, I would go to Italy just for their pasta. I would go to Italy just for some gelato. They make this 7-bean soup for me and make you slap your grandma. This 7-bean soup is off the chain. So I just Italy by far. I got friends in Brazil. I got friends. In Sweden I still got friends. But my Italian family they just been my heart. Yeah, that's where I. Yeah.
Okay, please talk about, of course, the city that I grew up in, Sacramento, and the Monarchs.
Yeah, of course, Sacramento just grew on me. 25 years, Sacramento being there, and just really, I love the community. I have so many friends there, so many just amazing people, and yeah, with being with the Monarchs, I feel like and I know I'm gonna clarify this. A lot of people, when I played for the Monarchs, I have a ring, and I wish I don't have it. I don't have it on me, but I retired just before we won the championship. But the Maloofs, what they told me, they said, when we win, you're gonna be the first to get a ring because you laid the foundation. Without your foundation you laid, we wouldn't be here. We wouldn't have this opportunity. I got a ring with my name on it, as if everything and every player. I didn't get a replica. I didn't get just one. I got the real deal with the diamonds and everything. And so I really appreciate them. And I know there's been a lot of things about the Maloofs, but they showed me love. They showed me love. I enjoyed my whole experience there. Um, there were some challenging things near the latter part of my career. I didn't go out like I wanted to be honest. I'm like, there was some bittersweet. When they did that retirement ceremony for me, it was bittersweet. I'm like, I was humble and in gratitude, but it was sad. I wasn't ready for my jersey to go up in the rafters. I wasn't ready. I wanted to play more. And was it my time? I didn't want to be my time. I felt like I was forced into retirement, to be honest. But hey, the thing is that I look at that nobody can take my blessing. And maybe in hindsight, it was time for me to be done. But in my heart, I wasn't not finished. But I continue to work for the organization. But I'm just thankful for the fans, man. I'm telling you, a lot of my friends all across the league, they were like, man, we hate coming to Sacramento. Y'all got crazy fans. Them fans are just they just love the Monarchs. I'm serious. My fans to the day, Bill. I see fans. I see people out in the stores in the mall hanging out. They never seen me before. They're like, oh my God, you are my role model. I love you. Oh, my first time sign my shoe, sign my arm. I'm like, I'm retired 15 years now. What? They're like, no. You was like the real deal. And you know what make it special when I see the guys? Of course, I see girls and the women and stuff, but when I see guys saying, you know what, man, I'm telling you, my dad used to take me to your game, or my mom went to your game, to me, that means a lot. That they can move their pride away and really honor women basketball and not be ashamed to. That's what's special. But yeah, one thing about me, Bill, the bumps and the bruises, the challenges, all that stuff is added into me in my life. I can't just move out the things I don't just want all easy stuff. If something does not challenge you, it would not make you better. And we know getting in shape. Hey, I love my six pack. I love my bicep curls, but I ain't going to get no bicep. I'm not going to get definition without soreness, Bill. And guess what? That soreness, that lactic acid. The lactic acid in life is the struggles and the challenges, the things that are trying to hold you back. But you know what? After you go through that soreness, your breakthrough, when you go through it, you feel so strong and empowered, because you know what? You'll be amazed at what you can do. Because all the negative things that pull against you, trying to steal something from you. And I don't know if you ever seen the movie Cuba Gooding Jr., the Navy, the movie, Bill, with the Navy. He was in the Navy and he went on the water. You know, he got his leg broke off.
Yes.
Listen, Bill, I'm telling you, I'm gonna ask you a question. I'm gonna ask you a question. If you've seen that movie, what is the most important? There's a scene in court. He asked him, "Why are you doing this? Why are you fighting so hard? You about to lose your family. You about to lose. You know, you got one leg. You just fight for this. What? Why are you fighting so hard? Why is it so important to you?" Do you remember what he said?
I do not remember exactly what he said.
One of the reasons that he said, "I fight so hard because they said I couldn't have it." That's what he said. It's almost like I'm looking into my future. I'm looking to this I want. And you up there and you trying to tell me that I can't have this. You trying to tell me, how dare you tell me what I can't have? Do you know my heart? Do you know how hard I work? How dare you try to dictate what the future holds for me? And so that was his mindset. That's why he grinds so much. That's why he wanted, because what's his name? The one that was challenging him was trying to take it away from him before he could get to it. Let me fight. Let me have an equal opportunity to achieve something. You trying to tell me I can't? Who are you? You're not, you're not the God of my destiny. And so that's why I felt like in my career when Coach would turn, we talk about it today. I said, "Coach, you sat across me and you try to tell me that basketball wasn't for me. You try to tell me to walk away in so many words. I felt like I could just feel you pulling my dreams from me. And that's what ignited something in me. That's what ignited this fire in me. Like, you know what? Hey, the harder the going get tough, I'm gonna get tougher. And that's what ignited this something. That's what took me back to that fence. Is that I'm there. I know there's something on the other side. There is something on the other side of fear. There is something on the other side of a disappointment. There is something on the other side of I'm not good enough. And I want to know what it is. And by golly, I'm going to get it.
Tell me about Ruthie's Place.
Yeah, Ruthie's Place with the domestic violence, and it's off Broadway. And when COVID hits, it just put a damper in a lot of things. Domestic violence and human trafficking both has escalated during this pandemic. Domestic violence usually get 3,500 to 4,000 calls a day. And now I don't know the number, but they get even more now with domestic violence, with not having the free will to just go places. And so what we're trying to do is we're trying to revamp. We're actually revamping some things and just trying to do different things. But it's a drop-in center for girls between 18 and 20. No, between 16 and 22. I actually want to do different with numbers. I want to do an age group. I think some of the younger age group. So that's what we're working on, with doing different age groups and maybe having at different times, because I think all the girls, I don't want to keep it. My thing is that I don't want to just keep it to a certain age group. So I'm coming in saying we need to come up with a different thing where all the girls can benefit. It's just in my heart. And I just feel like, there's a lot of girls. These girls grow up fast. There's a lot of girls in the teens, 13, 14, 15 that need help. And there's a lot of different organizations like City of Refuge. There's my sister house. So there's a lot of different resources, and we're trying to partner to really make sure we cover everybody, Bill. We're trying to partner, make sure we cover everybody.
Being a domestic violence survivor, can you talk about that a little bit?
Oh man. Yeah. Bill, obviously you've got a glimpse of how hard I work on the court. Okay, you've gotten a glimpse of that.
Yes, I have gotten a glimpse.
Just a glimpse. Now I'm in a marriage, Bill. At the same time, I'm playing this game where every day I want every loose balls. Listen, it ain't no such thing as I don't wait till the whistle. Matter of fact, when we would practice, my teammates would look at the color. They were like, "Where?" I'm like, they don't want to be on my team because they don't want to play against me. Because they know when the ball goes up, whether we're in a game or practice, if you got on a different color uniform, you my enemy. And listen, I'm going after the ball until I got it. Ain't no such thing as hear no whistle blow. I'm retrieving the ball. And so when I played competitive. And so now to separate At the same time, I'm at home dealing with looking in the mirror, seeing, do I like who I see? Looking in the mirror, being in a marriage abusive where I'm being told every day that I'm not worth anything. And it was such a tough place. And then going through physical abuse. And I lost myself, but I lost myself. I lost some of my power as a woman, but my teammates is what really sustained me. They validated me. They lift me up. They didn't know what was going on, but they would lift me up. When they would give me high five and tell me great job, I'm like, this feels good. Somebody do care about me. Somebody's encouraging me. Somebody's lifting me up. And so why, I'm gonna go and work my butt off and play hard. And I'm gonna go and if I need to defend a girl and keep her down to 3 points when she averages 30, yeah, I do that. If I as a guard, if I need to go and get 10 rebounds, yeah, I'm gonna do that. I worked my butt off in practice and on the court because I knew there was a place where I felt I belonged. I felt this place was my safe haven, Bill, because at home I couldn't get it on the wraps. I could not. If I was standing at home, he was mad. If I got home and was sitting, he was mad. If I made chicken, he was mad. I wasn't the biggest cook. He actually did the cooking, or we would order out or whatever. But it was just, I had all these self-doubts. I said maybe because, I traveled a lot. It was just already different things where I want to really have my husband was just unhappy, and I remember confiding in my tutor in college. As a matter of fact, I talked to her the other day. She lives in Florida now. And I remember just breaking down one day, Bill, and I said, I'm a horrible wife. I said, I don't deserve these gold medals. I said, I'm going to throw them in the trash, like the one in 96. I said, seriously, I don't deserve it. My marriage isn't working. He telling me how horrible I am, that everybody lying to me, that, and so it was just all these different things in my head where I didn't know if victory was staying or leaving. And so I went through what I went through, and I felt like I deserved it. And so we renewed our vows in 96. We got married in 90. We renewed our vows in 96, and things got even worse. And so I stayed there, Bill. I thought that I would lose my life in this marriage. I thought that it would die. Every day I woke up, I said, Lord, you giving me another lease on life. And so I was thankful. But so I what made me finally, I had getaway bags. I had two getaway bags that I was sneaking go to counseling. And what made me finally decide to make a move is that I thought about, if I put someone in this chair, Bill, that I love more than myself. That's why I share with girls about valuing who you are. I said, listen, I know what you're going through. I didn't know if victory was staying or leaving. Well, but made me decide to make a move is thinking about my niece. I didn't have any kids at the time, but what if my niece was in that chair? What if he would talk to her that way? What if he did the things he did to me? I said, how would that make me feel? And I thought about, like, wow, this is not good. I took myself out of that chair and put someone there that I love, value more than me. And that was my niece at the time. And I was like, man, this is not cool. And so that's what I tell a lot of women, that when you're going through, you lose part of you. You lose some of your self-worth. But when you help you get out of that situation is that think about someone you love that you value more than you. You're just going through that temporarily. You lose some of your self-worth as a woman. It doesn't matter your economic status. It doesn't matter if you live in check to check, or you got money in the bank you could burn. You lose some of yourself when you blame yourself. As women, our DNA is that we feel like we're the fixers. We're the one that's supposed to, we got this extra tolerance for chaos. And I just thank God that he spared me through it, and that he saw fit for me to live to tell about it. And that ESPN decided to do a documentary where I could be a voice for the women, and living with guilt. Some things that you feel like you're guilty of and you feel like I deserve it. I really felt like I deserved it, and but I'm thankful that I can be a voice for the women, and I can stand the gap for them. I've traveled overseas and done a lot of women workshops to Samoa, New Zealand, Papua New Guinea, Bangladesh. I've in Africa, and done symposiums. I've gone to a lot of women prisons. 92% of women in prison, Bill, is for domestic violence. When I would go to these prisons, it would be such an amazing, it would be it would be such an amazing atmosphere. These women, some of these hard women that have never shared anything, they were coming up, bawling, opening up, sharing about the pain, sharing about the hurt, them being raped, them being all these different things that the reason they hurt people. And that's why my book, From Pain to Power, your pain got to become your power, or do you going to suffer more? That same thing, you're going to suffer to the 10th power. If you allow your pain to become your power, that is what's going to help you to rise above your pain to power. You got to find purpose in your pain. You got to find forgiveness, which is your peace. You got to understand that what you're going through is a process, that you might be different from someone else. You got to trust your process, what you're going through. When you hurt, you hurt. If you need to cry, you cry. And go through what you go through, but know that on the other side of our pain is your power, and really believe that. And so that's what has helped me. What has helped me heal is being able to go and share doing the documentary. At first, I felt really weird about it. I'm like, why am I sharing about this after all this time? People gonna look at me and like, oh, look at you. Why you want people to feel sorry for you? I can't believe what you do. You deserved it. I had all these mixed emotions in my head. And what made me really go through with it was thought about the people that I could impact. I thought about the people that I could just really, and the feedback I've got. I'm about to write a book with my sisters called I Can Because I Am, and it's going to talk about different types of abuse and how you can grow in your journey, and really, because I share with them how empowered I have been sharing my story, and I ain't like I have arrived, like I'm at this place where okay, I'm totally out of the woodworks. I still go through what I go through, but God can meet us where we are, and you don't have to be in a perfect place. Because if we wait till we perfect, now I'm good now. Now I share my story. You know what? We're gonna be somewhere on the tree counting marbles. Or we're gonna be somewhere that we gotta trust God to meet us where we are. I remember speaking early on, right shortly after the documentary came out. I'm talking about brokenness all get out. I spoke at a graduation for St. John's Place, and I'm talking about I couldn't even speak for crying. Nowhere near at a place where I'm healed. But guess what? A young lady came up to me afterwards and hugged me for like 2 or 3 minutes. She won't let me go. She said, "Thank you for giving me closure." She said, "Thank you for saving my life. Thank you for making me feel I'm making her feel like I'm with her and she's not alone." Imagine had I waited until I felt healed, or I felt I'm at a place where I ain't got to cry anymore. It's like that's why I kept saying, I said, when am I gonna stop crying? I could not but it's a thing where it just reminded me how what our mess can become someone else's message, and that the power of transparency, the power of vulnerability. You can be vulnerable at the same time strong, because guess what? When you're vulnerable, you let something go, and at the same time, it cannot power you, it cannot handcuff you anymore. It cannot choke the life out of you. It cannot steal your joy anymore. You've let it go. So that vulnerability is on the other side of that vulnerability is courage and strength. And that's what I try to share with women. It's just as you being vulnerable and sharing, you are becoming so powerful, because you are getting your power back. You're taking your power back when you're vulnerable.
I think you touched upon a lot of what I was going to talk about, but maybe when you wrote your biography in 2014, you did not mention the domestic violence. How did you get the courage in those 2 years since? What was the point where you said, hey, I really need to do this?
Because I want to say in 2015, I did a symposium for for Sports Illustrated. No, ESPN. I was in San Diego, and they asked me, the topic was on abuse. And one of the ladies used to work for NBC back in the day, and she remembered that I had some stuff going on. She asked me would I share about it. I said, sure. Oh man, it's been a lot of years. Okay, yeah, I'll talk about it. And at this symposium, I don't know if you know Gloria Artwright. She was there, and we were talking about God Artwright. Yeah, it's my bad. Yeah. We were talking about women issues. Anyway, when I got ready to start to talk, I literally could not articulate any words. I didn't realize how it was just the pain of talking about that experience. I felt like it was just horrible. So anyway, I managed to get some words out, and so it created so much noise and so much like, wow, I didn't know Ruthie Bolton went through that. No one knew. No one. It was some people did, but not the public. And so they were getting pressure. They needed more information. They came to me and said, hey, you got the whole nation of, the community of basketball wondering, like, wow, really what happened? Really what happened? And she said, we really would love to share your story, and I was like, no, I said, no, I'm good. So they pressed me, for about 6 months. And I was like, they said, you could really, really touch a lot of people's lives. And so I prayed about it and I said, yeah, it's like, I felt compelled to do it. And so that's when they started working on the documentary. I want to say it came out in 17. They started working on it late 2015, 2016. And so that's why I didn't talk about it, because it was something I didn't want people to know. I'm like, I felt like, who want to know about that? I'm like, it was sort of that that dark place in my life. And that's not really supposed to count. You just focus on the good things, the positive things in life. And so that's why I didn't talk about it. And I talk a lot about now sweeping things on the rug, and how I didn't realize how unhealed I was, and I didn't realize how, it was just painful. And just imagine, carrying that, and I become so free. And I told her when I started to speak, I said, I don't have the answers. I'm not speaking from a counselor standpoint. I'm just sharing my story. I'm healing as I speak. I'm sharing as I speak. I did the WNBA tour, and I was just like, man, every time I got ready to get to a city, I was like, okay, can I just speak without crying? Like, it was so painful. And but I'm glad that I did it. It was a tedious journey, but so many people, I get messages from women like, thank you for saving my life. Thank you for giving me hope. Like, wow. And the very fact that I don't fit the profile per se, usually. So they're like, wow, her, like, so it made the women feel like, wow, I guess I'm not crazy. I guess it could happen to anybody, because you got a lot of people in, I guess, the celebrity field. People, they moved on, they've remarried, they got their own life. They don't want to talk about that. So now to get someone that, that want to talk about it, is, like, wow, like, this is like, and it happens to more. It happens to more than me. Women, I know a lot of my teammates, but nobody, a lot of them didn't want to share about it because they have moved on in a new relationship. I don't need to bring up old wounds, and it takes a lot, because it digs up the old wounds and it take you back to that place. And ESPN, they got me real good too. I would say they would ask some of the toughest questions. They got me crying like, can y'all edit? Like, can y'all just edit, stop and let me touch up and put gloss on and try to look, they just wanted the rawness of my pain. And they got it a lot. You saw some of the documentary, but even there are times where they couldn't fit everything. They was going to do a 30 minutes, but it was so much, there was so many dynamics about my family. They was almost done with the 30 minutes. So they even got to the domestic violence part. So that's when they asked for another 30 minutes. So that's why it became an hour.
We're all glad you did it, right? I mean, I think it shows the truism of you're only as sick as your secrets, right?
Yes, yes.
And what was, I heard you make a quote like, you're only one person in the world, but could you repeat that? Yeah, I like that.
You might be one person in the world. To the world, you might be one person. Okay, we all have our own set of fingerprints. To the world, you might be one person, but to one person, you could be the world. And I'm being convinced of that every day. There was a girl that sent me a message on Messenger. A lot of people send me a message. You don't know who I am, but I've been a fan of you. I admire you, blah, blah, blah. And so a lot of times I give her my number. And I gave this one lady, she said, I met you 25 years ago. My daughter was 14 years old. And she said, you inspired her in a way that every time I would see you and hear of you, I was just like, man, I would say, thank God for her. And so we talked, and she said that we was in Virginia. Her daughter was 14 years old, and her daughter wanted an autograph, and we was running out of time. And she said that you You came over and signed anyway, and you almost got left from the bus. I said, yeah, that sounds like me. I almost about to get left. And because I try to get everybody. And my teammates said, Ruthie, you can't save the world. I said, I'm a doggone, I'm going to try. So I grabbed her book and I ran. I said, I'm going to get all the girls to sign it. And I got it signed. And the next day I came back. It was a game, I think. And she said, oh my God. She just said that. She said she thought about that. She said, out of all the people were there, she said, I didn't have to do that. I could have easily said, nah, I'm not going to be able to. She said, you did that for me. And she just said, like, my daughter was 14 years old. She said, now she's almost 40. And she said, and so both her daughter got on the phone too. And she said, I remember, like, you changed me as a 14-year-old. She said, I told my mom, I didn't want no more gifts, nothing for the next year or two. I wanted to go to the Olympics. So she said they came to Atlanta. They saw me briefly, it was so much chaos. She said they had a small encounter with me. But then she said anytime they would see me after that, she said, but that experience changed her life. Like, it helped her with challenges that she went through in life. She said Ruthie Bolton took out time to take our book and get the whole team to sign it. So that means a lot. That went with them for years. And so we just talked about 3 weeks ago since then. And she said, she didn't talk nothing about basketball, about how good your shot was, how good y'all played. She said that experience changed me, changed my life. And it made us, she said, you didn't read no Bible verses to us. You didn't preach to us. But she said, we know we saw Jesus in your life. And she said, to me, that stuck more than you just playing the game. So that's why that quote is important.
It's amazing. And I imagined, and I know I'm asking a lot of questions, but I think one thing I think is interesting is people like you, right, who are very kind-hearted and selfless. There's probably, most of the time it's good. But then there are probably times where you're like, you get taken advantage of or you get screwed over, right? And I feel like the way you are probably is 90% good, right? And there's probably like a 10% where you might allow yourself to get taken advantage of, right?
Yeah, I know it happens a lot.
And you probably prefer to be this way than to be paranoid and to not be that kind of person and to be mistrusting. Right?
It's interesting because it really is, and I have thought about that because there are times where I said, why the people that are nice and kind and genuine people take advantage of. And I just say, you know what, Lord? And this is when I have to pray. I said, I cannot walk on eggshells. I cannot allow people to have me. I got to be wiser. It's important to be wise. And, if a person tell you, my dad said, if a person tell you they going down the road, they spend an hour telling you they going down the road. They go up the road, believe they going up the road. So the wisdom has to kick in. But I just don't want to be guarded. I love people. I love to, I don't want to walk on eggshells and mistreat. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, so it's stressful. It's too much to try to walk around and try to, worry about all this about people or what are they up to. And, it just it's anxiety. It's a lot. I say, I want to be able to just be myself and trust you that if I feel in my spirit to do a generous deed, that I'm trusting that it's the right thing to do. And Lord, and I put it back on him. I said, if I get taken advantage of, that's on you. That you got to pay that debt. And that's how I try to live my life, and it's tough to just try to be me and try to really don't let it take me out of character of being and loving and being the person I am, being Christ-like. And I don't want to create bitterness inside me, and that where I'm mad. I'm somebody treat me bad over here, and I'm taking that on somebody else. I run into you in the store, and I'm taking that on you because somebody treated me bad. I don't hurt people. And I don't want to be like that. So I try to go through what I go through, and I try to process it. And I remember, when I was at a Christian college, I went through something, and it really broke me, hurt me so bad. It had tears in my eyes. It literally had me just bawling. I got in my truck like I am now. I'm gonna turn the truck on because I need some air. I got in my truck, and I remember I had so much anguish in me. I said I would not leave this campus until I have forgiven them. They said some things to me that was so uncalled for. They did. I was just like, man, I was just broken. But I remember, I think about what my dad would tell me, and I don't want to build up resentment because I would not let you be my battle. I'm not gonna let you be my bad. You do something to me, you can't do enough to make me hate you. You can't do enough to make me, I won't go through my process, but I'm not gonna hate you because that's not gonna do me any good. That's gonna only consume me. I'm gonna become a prisoner of my own emotions. So the ability to forgive and let go of resentment. And so I sat in my truck for 45 minutes and prayed and cried until I knew I could let it go. And then when I did, I let it go, and I still dealt with it. I processed, and I met with them a week later and stuff like that. But that's how I had, because I didn't want it to, because the root of the resentment builds into anger, to hate. And there's a lot of people that it adds up, it adds up. And I refuse to let something steal my joy like that. I refuse to give you that much power that you take. That's why my journal for my girls is keep your power, keep your mighty power. I said, do not let circumstance, don't let people take your joy. I might not be happy about everything, but I would not, my joy is protected. My joy in my soul is protected. And I make sure that I pay attention to that. I have to take a step back and say, okay, all right, something being tampered with. And I make sure that my joy stay intact in my soul. And then all this other little stuff around it, the others, I can get all that stuff figured out. But I make sure that I keep that strong. And because that's my anchor.
Hey, Ruthie, talk about your family and give me. Now we know you have a strong faith, but give me one great piece of advice, or two, because I know it's going to be hard for you to say one piece of advice that you're going to give your family.
Oh man, I have 11 and 9-year-old, and this is what I talk about, gratitude. I said, every day, find a miracle in every day. I said, Mommy, what's a miracle? I said, you got to be thankful for something. I don't care how bad it is. You got to find gratitude. And I said, listen, and so my daughter, she wakes up crying, fussing about certain shoes or one day. I said, listen, are you in the hospital right now with tubes up on you? Somebody had to feed you? No. Do you eat last night? Somebody had to help you eat? No. I said, so you are grateful. You are thankful. Don't ever I said, I want you to remember that. I said, because that's going to do so much for you. Guess what? You're going to treat people better. And I said, you're going to be able to accomplish more by having gratitude in your heart, no matter what happens around you. So it's a way of them protecting them. And I said, that comes from a positive attitude. My dad said, life is 10% of what happens to you and 9% how you respond to it. So I get them to say that life is 10% of what happens to you and 9% how you respond to it. So there's a lot of things going to happen that you can't control, but what I want you to control the things that you can, and make sure that you never forget the gratitude. Because what it does too, Bill, having a gratitude mentality, it is healthy. There was a study from Stanford, positive thoughts does something for it affects your emotions, it does something your brain. Some kind of study did, than to think negative and to be down. It really relates to your health. And so I refuse to let my situation be my destination. And I tell my kid, my daughter always said, Mommy, you know what? Do I deserve to be your daughter? And she said too, she said, Mama, you know how you always saying to the world, you might be one person, one person, you might be the world. I said, yes, sweetie. She said, you are my world. She said, you are my world and I love you. And she said, you just so nice. And so many people I don't know how people can, I don't even know how people could be mean to you because you're just so nice. And sometimes, Mama, you too nice. And she always talking about that. She said, and then my son, like, Mama, you the best mom in the world. To me, that's why I feel like I'm doing a great job, because I said, so you gonna say that even when I give you some country exercise, you know what that is, don't you? That's that switch. I said, so even when I give you country exercise, but anyway, so that's the advice, is really is your gratitude, because if you got gratitude, you're gonna love yourself more, and you're gonna treat other people like you want to be treated.
Well, Ruthie, thank you so much for being on. You are such an inspiration, both for gals and guys, just dealing with the adversity that we have in life. And I'm just really very pleased that we had this time to spend together.
And lastly, before I go, I want to just mention, and we can maybe do this on another time, is that be bold, be mighty, be you. Thing that I'm doing, I'm trying to, in this COVID time, and trying to do some things with college student athletes. And I love being face to face. I got to go to this Christian college in Minnesota 2 weeks ago. What's the name of this school in Minnesota? I can't think of right now. I can't believe I forget. But anyway, I went to this Christian college and I spoke to the athletes, and then I did chapel, and it was really such a blessing. The atmosphere was just amazing. And so I really enjoy just using, because you know what? The wisdom, the things that I have, you know, the Bible says your gifts will put you before great men, great women. And the things that I have, it's not going to do anything. My medals, my Hall of Fame, none of that don't do anything, Bill. We got accolades. What are they doing? They're not going to do anything if we don't go out. They're not going to do anything just sitting there. We got to use what we have to really impart some wisdom on the next generation. We got to impart. It is our duties and our responsibility. So from a college standpoint, student athletes, and even high school, it's hard for me to pick and choose. Like, seriously, like, I feel like I said, you know, I'm going to focus just on high school. I'm just going to do high schools. And then when I do high school and I get the opportunity to go to colleges, it's like I can't say no to that either, because I feel like there is, to me, they seem like high school players. They're so young. College students, to me, are young, but it's just such a need. And it takes people like us that really have a conscience of change. It's going to take people like us that really sincere, and we're doing it for the right reason. I was on the phone with a gentleman yesterday out of Utah. One of my friends gave him my number, and we talked about doing some of the same stuff, and he's in Utah. And just, it's going to take people that really believe in impact and change. And so I'm thankful, and it's just so much need to be done. You know, and with everything going on now, they need to be lifted up. They need to find reasons to rise above. And so I want to remind them to be bold, be mighty, and be the best version of themselves. That is my thing. Only someone can ever ask you to be the best version of yourself. That's something else I tell my kids. Hopefully I'm not asking you to be like me, like anybody you see on TV. All mommy wants you to be, and all the good Lord wants you to be, is the best version of you. And that's what I try to be, the best version of me every day. And I want to be stretched as wide as I can be stretched.
I love it.